I closed my eyes and drew back the curtain to see for certain what I thought I knew. Far, far away, someone was weeping when the world was sleeping. Any dream will do. I wore my coat, with golden lining, bright colors shining, wonderful and new. And in the east, the dawn was breaking, and the world was shaking. Any dream will do. Of drums, a flash of lights.
In the studio with me are a bunch of kids from the Play Conservatory's latest show. It's Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I'm super excited they're here in the studio with us today. And listen to how talented these kids are. Let's hear one more from you all.
Have you ever had that swelling feeling in your stomach when performing in front of an audience? Oscar Wilde once said, "I regard the theater as the greatest of all art forms, the most immediate way in which a human being can share with another the sense of what it is to be a human being." Play Conservatory is a non-profit organization that allows kids from ages 6 to 18 to have that experience, while also focusing on developing confident, cooperative, and creative environments for kids who are interested in many aspects of theater. Beginning this project, I didn't realize how difficult it would be to choose an endeavor that served the community and that had to do with a passion of mine. In the end, I eventually chose to work with Jonathan Dunsky and Play Conservatory because I had been in the 2011 summer stock show Snow White. I was comfortable with the organization and familiar with the expectations for students. Also, since being a part of Snow White, the world of theater has opened up to me. My previous experience with theater had been in school productions. These early experiences prompted me to seek drama outside of school. Snow White was only the beginning to a vocation that I wholeheartedly want to be a part of for the rest of my life. When I first began my internship, the show The Little Mermaid was in production. I did little jobs like press play on the iPod and manage kids during lunch. I got the opportunity to step up to the bat when the girl who managed the microphones couldn't make it to the last few shows. Managing microphone sound requires a whole different nervous feeling than being on stage. When the summer ended, I became more nervous about this senior project work because over the summer it seemed as if I was in the way a lot of the time. I didn't want to become a hindrance for Joseph. Joseph auditions began, and I was able to see both sides of the process between the actors and the judges while signing potential students in and calling them to be on deck. When I interviewed Jonathan the previous spring, he mentioned that theater isn't called show therapy, but show business for a reason. I didn't know what he meant until the first Joseph rehearsal came round, and Jonathan informed me that because there was trouble with the whole cost of the show, and a few of the students who were chosen to be a part of the show weren't dedicated to their acting opportunities, that the first rehearsal would have to be canceled to figure things out. Eventually, the rehearsals began, and as with a lot of shows I have observed, the beginning is always slow because most of the students are getting to know each other and still learning their line. Throughout rehearsals, I did little work just like Little Mermaid. Press play on the iPad, manage kids during break, but I also got to participate a lot in the fundraising aspect. Not only did I have to try and fit the upcoming Play Conservatory project into every conversation I had with someone, I also had to call and talk to the families who previously participated in past Play Conservatory projects and how to offer them tickets and reservations for Joseph. The other volunteers and I had to share online the progress we were making with these families. One of Jonathan's many areas of expertise seems to be in securing space for rehearsal and performance. We rehearsed Joseph at 3 different places: Monzano Day School, Air Dance Art Space, and Albuquerque Academy. Jonathan also gave me the task of posting the performance dates into online calendars, local newspapers, and theater websites. I had to put together community contact lists for students who gave us the information of their schools, local dance studios, and other places a live theater might find an audience. It was amazing to see how these kids worked and progressed. They ranged in ages from 6 years to 18. They had to learn their lines, choreography, blocking and timing, as well hone the interpersonal skills necessary to be a part of the relatively large ensemble. They're still kids, of course. We had a costume contest at Halloween. The show not only consists of the student actors, but also assistant stage manager, costume designer, and acting director. The show's success was dependent not only on the actors, but the people behind the scenes as well. My official title for this production was production intern. I got to be involved in and observe almost every aspect of the show, from auditions to blocking and fundraising, finale. The director, stage manager, choreographer, voice coach had very high expectations of the cast. Without these people, the show would not go on, so to speak. The volunteers who were involved had to set up the booth for Play Conservatory products, mainly because the show depends on the revenue from merchandise at the doors, which is usually manned by parent volunteers. Even though the adults of Play Conservatory made me nervous, I am glad to have done this senior project with them. If I were anywhere else, I couldn't have gotten nearly as much help, hands-on help and information that I got. When Tech Week rolled up, everything went by really quickly. Theater, especially during tech rehearsals, is a lot like a giant puzzle. It is assembled piece by piece until there is one picture for everyone to see. Wednesday before the Friday opening show consisted mostly of learning the stage costumes and makeup. Thursday I got to wear a headset for the first time ever during rehearsals, and it was difficult. I was deaf in one ear until someone spoke to me from the sound booth. The headset was attached to the wall. I was on the side of the stage where the props were kept, and there was a specific method and script to use the headphones, and they had to be used sparingly because they were primarily for the sound and lighting crew to hear their cues. Once, when I was backstage during intermission, the assistant stage manager and I were instructed to check Pharaoh's microphone to discover the battery was low. We had to communicate this all the way across the theater and solve it minutes before he was supposed to be on stage. The final production was great. We had a decent-sized audience for all the shows. We performed at the Sims Center at Albuquerque Academy. I felt like I had finally become an integral part of the production by the final show. It was sad to see the run end. While working on Joseph in the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, I realized that there is a real community in a show. Just like the film and Broadway actor, Cait Kelly once said, "You need 3 things in theater: play, the actors, and the audience, and each must give."